Hello, welcome back. So this time we're going to add some collision detection code and the score, and maybe we'll add some sound effects if we get time in this video. So first thing, let's do it up here. So I'm going to add in a score. So const score, then we're going to add, and these square brackets, so it's looking like this. And unlike with the hazard and the car, we're not adding a sprite, we're adding some text, and our text is going to be score, and we'll start with 0. So if we save that, you can see that the default is far too big. So I'm going to come into here, and with a comma there, these curly brackets. With this we can add some extra parameters for the text. So we can tell it what size. So let's try with 28 and save that. And there we have the score. So it fits in, but it doesn't really look very clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the font for the score. So there are a few fonts that come built in with Kaboom, and if you want to know what they are, you can find them at KaboomJS.com. And okay, so down here it tells us, so one font is called Sync. There's 4 built-in fonts. This APL386, APL386O, Sync, and Sync-O. So these are the 4 that come with Kaboom. And so I'm going to have a look at this font, APL386. So I'm just going to copy the name from there. We come back into our code. So along with size, I can have a comma. And then font. And in the speech marks, APL386. And we can save that. And this is perhaps a little bit clearer. So if you want to try out the other 4 that you can find here, APL386, 386, and that's an O, I think, Sync and Sync-O. Let's just have a look if I put this O onto there. So yeah, this is the one with the outline. So I'm guessing O stands for outline. You've got that black outline, but that isn't quite as clear. So I think I'll leave it at that. So that's our score. It's a little bit in the corner, so I think I'd like to move it across. So with our position, let's try, let's try 30 on the X, so 30 in, and 40 to move it down a little bit. Okay, possibly a bit too far down, so let's try 20 on the Y, so it'll be 20 down. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. And the next thing we need, this is just the text for our score. So come back here, make sure you've got a comma at the end of each line, and then we're going to use these curly brackets, and in here the value of, oops, not 9, of 0. So this is actually holding the value of the score. This is just showing the score, which will start at 0, and this is the value that we can use for adding and increasing the score. So this will not change anything on the display. That's just holding the value in memory that we're going to change later on. Okay, so there we've got our score. Now, we want to know every time that the hazard moves off the screen, meaning we've moved out of the way, then our score is going to increase. So we don't get a point if we crash into it, we get a point if we avoid it. So we need to know at which time has this hazard moved off the screen. So if we come look through our code, and what we know is, down here, if the hazard position, the Y position, is greater than 320, so that's when it's moved off the screen, then we're going to reset the hazard. So when we reset, that must mean that we have scored a point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this reset hazard function. In fact, I'm going to make a new function. So there might be a reason why we don't want to get a point when we reset, perhaps when we're restarting the level. So I'm actually going to make a new function that is going to be called increase score. So we have these round brackets, these curly brackets, and then our code will go in here. So what happens when we increase the score? Well, first of all, our score value is going to go up by 1. So that's score dot value gives us access to score, and then if you want to get anything in here, you put a dot and then value. Next we're going to do dot text to change the text. So score dot value plus equals 1, and this is adding on 1 to the score. If you followed the last tutorial, you'll know we can't just say plus 1 when we're coding in JavaScript with Kaboom. We say plus equals 1, so the score will go up by 1. Now, I have to remember to call this function. So when I reset here, I also want to increase the score. So when the hazard moves off the bottom of the screen, it's going to reset. So that does this function with our random left or right side, and it's going to increase the score. So that's adding 1 to the value. So let's just have a look. I'm going to save. Let's just have a look at what happens. So it's moving off the bottom of the screen, but the score is not changing. So something's wrong. The problem is, we've only changed the value. This part. We haven't changed the actual text, what we see on the screen. So next, we need to update the text. So that's score.text is equal, and then we're going to have the score. Now here, I want to show whatever is held in our value. And to do that, outside of the speech marks, I do plus score.value. This is not a plus for adding, this is a plus for putting this with this, putting it next to it. So it's not doing any kind of maths and adding on to it. It's adding it in the sense of putting it next to it. So it shows this, and then it shows this. And we have to keep them separate because this is a variable that's going to change each time. So I can't put that in there. Let's just save and reload, just to check if that's actually working. So we don't have our collision, so I don't even have to actually move out the way. But you can see each time it goes off the edge of the screen, this score is updating. Okay, so let's just see what would happen. I'm going to cut that. What would happen if I did that? Let's save. and it moves off there. And what's actually happened here, although you can't see it because it's gone off the screen, it's literally just printing score.value. If I make this a lot smaller, now you can see it's score, so it's literally just showing this. So that's not going to work. The way we need to do it is the score part that doesn't change is in the speech marks, and this, the variable that does change, we are putting it next to it. Let's get the font back to a size we can see, and now we have our score increasing. Excellent.